Joining me to discuss BTC price and other Bitcoin news is our Week in Review panel, CoinDesk Managing Editor of Technology, Christy Harkin in Toronto, and Managing Editor of Markets, Brad Cowan in Austin. Hello there, Brad and Christy. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, Christine.
Good to see you. All right, so this China ban has really rocked our Friday. Brad, tell me a bit about the market impact that China has had today and throughout the week.
Well, you know, the story today has knocked $2,000 or $3,000 off the price, not taking us down from about 45,000 to about 42,000 ish. But it's not that crazy of a drop, you know. I mean, obviously, Bitcoin's pretty volatile, and it's down 5-ish% today. I mean, in crypto, that's kind of no big deal, and that is what a lot of traders are saying. Is that, yeah? I mean, this is the stiffest, most severe crackdown that China has had to date. But it's also, you know, like their 5th or 7th just this year, you know, or the past 12 months. And, you know, Bitcoin keeps bouncing back from this. And so that's kind of what people are saying is like, not really a lot that is super different here from what we've seen in the past that Bitcoin's bounced back from. So it's holding up pretty strong, all things considered.
Right.
You know, earlier in the week, we had that big, go ahead.
Well, we were saying earlier on CoinDesk TV that compared to other China crackdowns and, you know, reiterated bans, the markets are handling it quite well in comparison to previous years. And taking a look at the statements they've been saying, nevertheless, it does appear that there is a sense of a more strict policy going forward. Christy, is anything new with what they are saying in China this time around?
Yeah, a lot is different. And I mean, at the risk of, you know, spreading Bitcoin China FUD, it's really different. For several years now, China's been issuing these sort of directives that incrementally have limited the ways that China's cracked down on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Like we had the mining ban, we've had, you know, the exchanges couldn't trade anymore. I mean, it was behind the whole ICO crash. But the thing is, every single time they say things like, oh, but Bitcoin's not illegal. Cryptocurrencies aren't illegal. There are just certain things that you can't do with them. And this distinction seems to have kind of evaporated in this latest directive. It's pretty comprehensive. It strikes me as a surgical strike on Bitcoin in China. I mean, it's not just Bitcoin, it's all digital currencies. And if you look at their definition of digital currencies, they're not leaving anything out. They really go for it. Then they go after all virtual currency related businesses that, like, if you are involved in buying, selling, trading, producing, that's mining, which we've known about, fundraising, offering derivatives, like anything. If you're like offering customer service to a foreign offshore business that deals in crypto, you can't do that anymore. So this is I see it kind of as a big deal in that regard. And I think it's kind of amusing that the markets aren't responding to it. I think it's great because it shows the markets maybe have matured to the point where they don't, you know, just look to China. But my goodness, this one really strikes me as a big deal. And every other time China's cracked down, I've always said, okay, everybody, let's put the foot on the brake. It's not as big a deal as it sounds. But I mean, short of, you know, saying that anybody holding Bitcoin is a criminal, they really have gone after like any kind of business, any on and off ramp to crypto. So,
right.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a war of attrition. You know, each time, each couple of months, they keep chipping away more and more at the crypto industry, taking away people's access and whatnot.
Muya has put out a really great article called China's latest crypto ban is its most severe. And she gets into it too. And at the end of the article, there is sort of a silver lining. I'm not entirely sure how silver lining-ish it is. Justin Sun from Tron is like, oh, but they're not saying you can't, exchange it with your friends and neighbors. I'm like, well, okay, but you can't put it through an exchange. You can't off-ramp it anywhere. It's pretty close, and I don't know. It seems like this is more than we've seen in the past.
Right. And this ban, Brad, isn't the first time China has spooked the market. Earlier this week on Tuesday with the Evergrande scare, the Chinese real estate giant Evergrande defaulting on payments this week was expected. And that caused global equities to tank, as well as the crypto markets could not escape that macroeconomic slashing. And so where are we at now in terms of the new support, the new resistance? Where does Bitcoin head from here on out?
Well, people are saying that right here we're at 42,000. The 100-day moving price average is around 40,000. We might go down to that level. If we get below that level, we'd go down to 36,000. But right now it seems like we're sort of stabilizing a little bit in this 42,000 area. So we could potentially trade up to 46,000. But it doesn't seem like we're in any kind of a tailspin here.
JP Morgan also out with a report analyzing the CME trading, and it appears that institutional traders are getting into the dip.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, there are there's to Christie's point, there is a lot going on in the Bitcoin market. There's a lot to think about. But that story is, there's other blockchains besides Bitcoin. There's other tokens that people are getting interested in. And, so like, for example, there were a bunch of crypto conferences this week. I was at one in Dallas or here in Austin, sponsored by Vertalo. And they had, representatives from the Tesos blockchain and Hedera Hashgraph and, Ravencoin. Bitcoin's in the background. Nobody's, saying Bitcoin's going away, but a lot of these other projects are getting a lot of excitement. And I think that's this JP Morgan story is, JP Morgan saying that people seem more interested in Ethereum than Bitcoin. Who knows? There's a lot of surveys out there.
Right. I was also at the conferences. It's been a crazy week, 2 weeks of conferences, really, with last week with Salt and this week with Messari's mainnet both in New York. It was a great time. Late nights. Regulation was certainly a theme throughout after someone was served a legal document at the Messari conference just before allegedly they were to appear before a panel, but nobody knows and no one has been confirmed as to who this person was. And there are some who say that there were multiple people, as many as 3, so regulation was on people's minds. Also heard a lot about NFTs. You mentioned, institutionals looking at other markets besides Bitcoin, looking into the NFT market. A lot of interest in play-to-earn gaming and how that incorporates NFTs, and interoperability was also another theme. How to align all these blockchains and create a more uniform, decentralized Web3. So that's what I got out of the conferences. But also a huge announcement with Twitter. This is a big deal. Christy, tell me about Bitcoin tipping on Twitter with this latest announcement just on Thursday.
Yeah, well, we all know that Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, is a big fan of Bitcoin. He's tweeted about it himself many times. He's been to lots of Bitcoin conferences. I think he's got Bitcoin in his handle. So if you're an Apple iOS user, you can actually use a new tip feature on the app. And if you're a content provider, or if you just follow someone whose content you really like, you can receive and send Bitcoin directly. So this is a neat way to monetize your Twitter content. The payments use third-party apps to process the payments. And for Bitcoin, they're using Strike, which, as we know by Jack Mallers, takes advantage of the Lightning Network to send Bitcoin transactions practically instantaneously and without any fees, which is important if you're just sending a small amount of Bitcoin. You don't want to be doing that on chain. The fees will be more than the tip, probably way more than the tip. So this is a really neat innovation, and it's a great way to show the use case for Bitcoin and Lightning payments, Lightning transactions in a real world setting. Another neat thing to note is that the funds will not flow through Twitter directly. So they're not going to be taking any of the tip proceeds for themselves. Everything that you send goes to the person you're sending it to. All the tips go to the creators. And that is a pretty big deal too, because there's a lot of complaints in the publishing, whether it be music publishing or written content or video publishing, that there's always some being skimmed out off the top, either by YouTube or Spotify or whatever, that the proceeds don't go to the content creators. And in this case, it does. If you're an Android user like me, Twitter promises that the feature will be coming to those devices soon, and that'll be really cool to try out when that hits.